Hey there, fellow loom knitters. Are you ready to level up your stitches? Well, today we're going to dive in to one of the main foundation stitches that you'll use again and again, the seed stitch. Now, the seed stitch is made up of two basic stitches, the knit stitch and the purl stitch. And once you've got those down, you can do anything. Seriously, you become unstoppable. And I'll prove it to you, because after the seed stitch, we're going to create a basic basket weave pattern. And then I'll show you what it looks like in chart form, and how you can read a basic chart. Stick with me, it's going to be good. For today's demo, I'm using the E-wrap stitch, but any of the three knit stitches will do just fine for the seed stitch. And because this is a stitch tutorial, I'm just going to stick with the technique itself. Having said that, as usual, I did a chain cast on, and for anybody that's bought any of my patterns, I use a true knit as the final peg, and then I slip the first peg of every row. I find it just makes a cleaner edge, and that's my personal preference. Now, let's add some texture to your loom. The traditional seed stitch. It's a 2-row repeat, so on the first row, I E-wrapped the first peg of the link and purled the second peg of the link. When I change directions for row 2, in my head I'm still saying the same thing, and I E-wrap the first peg and purl the second peg. You'll notice, because I've changed directions, it's now switched up. Next up is the broken seed stitch. This is a 4-row repeat. So on row 1, I E-wrap the first peg of the link and I purled the second peg of the link. And I did that all the way across. When I changed directions for row 2, I E-wrapped all the way across to the end of the row. Now, you'll notice that our working yarn is back at the same end as row 1 where we began, which means we actually need to switch the stitches on the pegs. So for row 3, we're going to purl the first peg of the link and E-wrap the second peg. And we'll do that all the way across to the end of the row. And for row 4, I E-wrapped all the way across. So row 2 and row 4 are the even numbered rows are the E-wrap stitches, and on rows 1 and 3 is when I switched it up. And even though I referred to the links and the first peg of the link and the second peg of the link, and each link has got 2 pegs on it, for those of you that are not working with a flexi loom, you can just mark your pegs however you like, whether it's nail polish, elastic, stitch markers. Just mark every other peg so that you can distinguish them on your loom. That's all. Now let's get creative. Now, if you recall, I said that knits and purls were the main pattern foundation, and that together they make all other things possible. Well, in this next segment, we're going to focus in on making so much more with texture and what it will look like on a basic knit purl chart. Using those same knits and purls, but in a different order, we can create any shape that you can think of. To illustrate, let's begin with a basic basket weave. I've picked 4 as the magic number. 4 knits, 4 purls in 4 rows. And here's what it's going to look like. Reading a knitting chart as a loom knitter is slightly different than when you're knitting with needles. We still begin with the bottom right-hand corner, and we do still read the stitches from right to left, and then from bottom to top. The horizontal rows, of course, represent the stitches, and the vertical columns represent the rows. Take note, when we change directions from row 1 and then we go on to row 2, we still work the purl dots as purls. As loom knitters, we're not concerned with the right and the wrong side of the fabric. So even though most knitting charts are made for right-handed people, this actually makes it easier for left-handed people, or anyone really, to read and follow because it doesn't depend on the direction that you knit. We'll still work the purl dots as purls. We'll join this basket weave pattern already in progress on row 7. And take note that my loom has been color coded, so I've got 4 pegs in light and then 4 pegs in dark, and that alternates across the row. We're going to create a 4x4 basket weave, meaning we'll purl the 4 light pegs and we're going to knit the 4 dark pegs, and we'll keep switching all the way across the row. And we'll do that on the next row as well, so we'll knit the dark and purl the light. Then when we get to row 9, we're going to switch that up and change, and we will knit the light pegs and purl the dark pegs. And again, we will alternate until the end of the row. Switch, or rather change directions, but keep the same pattern going. Many charts show a decent sample of what the pattern will actually look like, and then they'll highlight the part of the pattern that will be repeated over and over again. And they'll highlight that by placing a box around it or shading this area slightly. Now you've just heard me say 4 is the magic number, and that's because as I work the pattern, I change and switch up what I'm doing every 4 stitches and then every 4 rows. However, this basket weave pattern is considered 8 stitches by 8 rows because this includes the switch in the pattern. So there are 4 knits and 4 purls for 4 rows, and then come row 5, we switch and do 4 purls, then 4 knits. Hence the 8 by 8 because it includes all the switching. But when I'm knitting, I'm just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just saying. Okay, first off, apologies for being so cryptic. It wasn't until after I finished editing that I started thinking about that broken seed stitch. And as lovely as the lattice type pattern is, which I do think it's lovely, I started thinking to myself, what if I replaced that E row with a purl row instead? And of course, here we are, adding some last minute footage. Okay. So at first, as I was knitting along, I'm thinking, okay, this is pretty disappointing because this is what the fabric looked like. Nothing special, ho-hum, boring. But then I flipped it over to the wrong side of the fabric. This is what the wrong side looks like. So let me see if I can get that in the light. Check that out. Look at those purl bumps, and it's kind of in a diagonal as well because they're off-centered. So I can see this going as a blanket, like a tonal blanket or a throw, and this becoming the whole thing just to add interest. How deluxe is that? Like, oh my God. So I just had to share. What can I tell you? I had to share. And here we are, being squeezed in at the end because this is where it would cause me the least editing nightmare of all. So, again, I apologize for being so cryptic. But I think it was definitely worth it because now we all have something to add to our toolbox. Deluxe. You're welcome. So there you have it. Today we leveled up by building a strong foundation. And we learned that knitting with knits and purls is kind of like working with ones and zeros, or dashes and dots. Fun fact, during World War II, knitting was actually used to send secret messages across enemy lines. Morse code style, dashes and dots, knits and purls. Which means any pattern, number, letter, or even picture is possible, making you officially unstoppable. Do yourself a favor and hop over to Pinterest and type in knit and purl knitting charts. But set a timer, folks, because this rabbit hole, she's deep. If you picked up something new today, by all means like and subscribe and turn on those notifications so that you can level up with my next tutorial. And until then, check out this next video. I think you'll really enjoy it. So I'm Stacey from Stitches by Stacey. Thanks for watching.